Ready? All right. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Last Comic Shop podcast and our latest shop talk. That's right. We're turning on the lights, kids. We're turning on the flashlight. The flashlight. Yeah.
You just put that together.
I did. I put one word and then the other word, and I was like, that sounds like another. I could do a Wordle. It's great. But we've got
Oh,
John
shoot. I'll be right
Davis.
back. I have to do the Wordle. I forgot.
Chad does that. We've got John Davis, who was on the show earlier this week, and Chad's going to do this while we run our opening. So here it is.
Countdown to the Last Comic Shop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, we are back with more of the Last Comic Shop. As I mentioned, I'm the host with the most. Maybe I didn't mention it, but I am the host with the most, Andy Larson. I'm joined by my loyal and faithful companion, as always, that is Chad Smith, as well as the wonderful George from Short Box Summary, as well as he is now a writer over at AIPT.com. He writes comic book reviews over there, so you can check out his work. We posted a lot, as well as we hope that you check out this fantastic Pittsburgh-based comic book creator that is John Davis. For those folks in the know, he was on our episode this week. That's right. Our episode all about Thanos and killing Peter. No, he didn't kill Peter Parker. Peter Parker died, and then he went and saw Thanos. And death. It was one of John's favorite issues of Spider-Man. George, you had commented in some of the text chains about it being a single issue and how it's cool to do a deep dive into the single issue. Had you ever read this one, George?
I have not. No, it was on my list. Unfortunately, I had to record not my own show this week, but I was on Thompson's Comic Corner this week, so I was behind on my reading for that. So I read that 6-issue miniseries. So I did not have time to read this, but you guys do a really good job of being evergreen and just talking around a book while mentioning what's worth checking out or what's worth thinking about afterwards. So I thought I could jump in blind, and I just want to read this single issue now.
Well, there you go. Well, that's what we hope to do on the Last Comic Shop, is get folks interested in comic books that they may not have checked out before. So again, Amazing Spider-Man 17. It was John's pick. John, any last thoughts on this particular one before we move on? Any last thoughts after our conversation earlier?
It's still one of my favorites.
Oh.
So, take that however.
Take it as it is. It's one of your favorites. And the 17. Rick Leonardi. Rick Leonardi, by the way, he reposted it. He at least watched he watched it. So there you go. Maybe it's an opportunity for you to make a connection there. You said that you loved his work.
Yeah, there's a chance you guys have tabled at the same cons or may table at the same cons in the future.
Yeah. And speaking of you tabling at cons, John, I know that we were talking about also on this week's episode about your upcoming Kickstarter. For those folks that may not have checked out this episode that's out there on lastcomicshoppodcast.com right now, why don't you give some folks a little bit of an update on what's going on with your Kickstarter for Death, Destruction, Terror, Destruction, and Death Drones. That's right.
Thank you very much. So I got the website up. The Kickstarter is almost ready to be published. If you go to jdavisdraws.com, you can get the first issue and a half for free. So go ahead and read it. Check it out. We're on track for April 10th to do a 30-day Kickstarter, and just see how it goes. I'm excited to get that book in front of the Kickstarter community, and just see what happens. And I believe in boots on the ground, so I'm going to be hitting a lot of conventions this summer and hopefully throughout the year, and we'll see how it does.
Speaking of the cons, I think you're even hitting 3 this upcoming March here in the for those folks that are around the Pittsburgh area. They're not too far from the Pittsburgh area, right?
I am absolutely. So on the 21st, I will be at the Du Bois Con in Du Bois, Pennsylvania. The 22nd is going to be the Pittsburgh Comic Book Show, and that's going to be at the Crown Plaza Hotel in South Hills. And then it's the Hollywood Con the following weekend on the 27th and 28th in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
There you go. And is it an opportunity for folks to pick up some of your books like live in person? You get to sign them and stuff like that, or?
I'm gonna have all of the books. You're gonna be able to get everything. You won't be able to get the finished collected graphic novel, but you will be able to get all of the single issues, and you will be able to have a chance at some of the original art as well.
Ooh.
And commissions. And I have a serious problem with comic books, so I have a ton of blank covers. So head over to jdavisdraws.com, and if you want a commission, hit me up.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. I mean, again, get some of those custom covers done by John Davis. By the way, do you happen to have had one recently? I don't know, in the last year or something that was an interesting commission request?
I did. It's actually one of my favorites. I had a Neil Adams is one of the people who is one of the greatest things to happen to me, having a small relationship with him in the comics community. And somebody asked for a Batman commission after Neil Adams, and I kind of hit a home run with it. And I think he would be kind of proud about how I approached it. So yeah, that was a good one. It's kind of hard to miss with Batman.
Well, that is interesting that you brought up Neil Adams, because I don't think that was one thing that made the show earlier this week. And I think the last thing I'll ask you is, didn't you met Neil Adams before he passed away, right? And he gave you some tips.
So
it's a little bit after late night. Maybe it's an interesting story. You shared it with us.
This is a fun story. So I'm standing in a line at the Steel City Con, and there's at least 10 guys in front of me with their portfolios, and they go up to Neil Adams. He's like, "Get out of here. Get out of here." And I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be really fast, and I'm going to be able to go back to my table and try to sell more comics. So, which was kind of a joke because they were really bad and I had no idea what I was doing. So I get up to his table, and he opens the book, and he stops for a second, and then he turns the page, and I go, okay, this is good. It's so quiet. I mean, we're in the middle of this convention, and it's so quiet. And then he turns the page again, and I'm going, oh my, what is happening? This is unbelievable. And I'm thinking, okay, he told all these other guys to get away. Why are you turning my pages? And he looks at me and he says, they were all pinups. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me if you have pinups. He said, you're doing something right. You're doing sequentials. I see perspective work. Your anatomy is garbage. Your expressions are garbage. He went through and told me everything that I was doing wrong. I mean, just really very, very, very honest. But he gave me something that I couldn't find anywhere else. And that was somebody to be honest about my artwork and to be honest about what the expectations to actually make comics had to be. And he spent 20 minutes giving me all of that information that you can't find in any books, that you can't, that people are afraid to give you. And the most beautiful thing was he was charging $50 for a 20-second portrait that he would do on a sketch cover. He gave me hell for 20 minutes and the best advice of my entire life for free.
That's better than those correspondence courses you used to sign up for in the back of the comic books.
That's right. That's
Exactly.
right.
Exactly.
Well, look at that. It's a great story. I'm glad that you shared it with us, for sure.
He was the best.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, again, make sure that you're checking out jdavisdraws.com. Again, you'll be able to read the first issue of Terror, Destruction, Death Drones, the upcoming, the collection is upcoming as part of the Kickstarter. But again, if you're at any of these local comic book shows in the Pittsburgh area and you want to check out, you want to meet John personally, he's a really great guy. Really great artist. If you want him to draw something, if you want to pick up some of the single issues of Terror, Destruction, Death Drones that are currently out, he's got them available. But make sure that you're checking out not only his website, but also lastcomicshoppodcast.com and the rest of our social media for links, again, as we continue to support you, John, and your upcoming Kickstarter. So,
Thanks so much.
shifting gears, I'd like to move over to Chad today because he's got big news in terms of the comic book circles. Now we didn't share this with John. He had mentioned Comet Man is cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad that you got me. Again, it's a Bill Mooney series, Lost in Space. Will Robinson, Danger Will Robinson. He wrote it. It was put out for Haley's Comet. It's got some awesome Sienkiewicz covers.
And I fished a set out of the buck bins just for Andy.
That's true.
And then another set for me, so that at one point I can read it too.
We've got a comic book coming up in the next couple of weeks with George. We're going to be reading Earth X as part of our Merry Marvel March Society, and the main bad guy of that, the Skull, that's Comet Man's kid. So there you go. That's
the Red Skull Kid.
Yeah, this Red Skull Kid it's either his kid or his grandkid, but he's related. That's honestly how I found out about this Comet Man series. Was like they dropped that, and you're like, oh, well, shoot, I should read that Comet Man series now. So
I don't know if that's like required reading. Like I don't.
Come on. You gotta live a little. You expand your horizons.
Sure, no, for sure, yeah. Actually, is it Gillian Anderson? Who's the chick from Community? Britta, the blonde chick, and Choke.
Is Gillian Jacobs? You're thinking the X-Files lady.
To be fair, I'm always thinking of X-Files lady, but a chick from Community had a note or like a little snippet in an interview where she was like, yeah, like I would love to be part of the MCU. Like there's this one book called Dakota North, and like I looked it up. It was like some 5-issue miniseries from like 87 to 88. And she was like, I think this would make like a great Marvel project. And I was like, that's such a fucking deep cut, man. Like I record a podcast about Marvel, and like I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. And then I like looked it up on Marvel Unlimited. I'm like, I guess I gotta read this now, just to see what Homegirl was up to. So I'm excited, but like again, it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't have to do that. It's fine. You just leave it be.
There you go.
I'll do respect to Comet Man.
But no, I think what Andy, we weren't actually talking about Comet Man, but I'm excited about this to see what the heck's going on. But no, today I acquired one of the grails in my collection. Where I've been buying Daredevil books for a long time. And I have almost everything from when Frank Miller started. Almost. I'm down to 2 issues. One of which is the first Frank Miller. And then the other one is the one that I tracked down today. Where I saw they'd posted online a raw copy for what I consider to be a reasonable amount of money. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go to there. And then Andy's like, don't go to the comic shop. Wait until we can both go together. It'll be more fun that way.
Well, I've never been there.
I know.
I like going to the places we've never been. Like, there's so many in the Pittsburgh area that we haven't been to all of them yet.
And so my answer was nothing. But then I was walking out of work and I was asking my buddy, I was like, should I go and get this thing or should I wait? The responsible thing would be to wait. And he's like, nah, go get it. I'm like, yeah, you're right. That's the answer I wanted to hear. So I went to get it, but it was gone. And instead, I saw in the case another version, and I gave the guy working a very lowball offer. I was like, well, will you take this? And he's like, I'll take your lowball offer plus $10.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
He lost
here it is.
Oh,
My first appearance of Elektra.
Wow.
Which honestly, I'm a little bit miffed at that I bought the slabbed copy. I'm not a slabbed guy. I'm very sad that I can't read the white pages that are inside this thing.
I mean, you
But I
have
know
it
they're
on-
there because there's a note in all caps that says white pages. But I just have to take their word for it. But no, this is
You have an
something-
opportunity, Chad. You could just pop it open right now on screen.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, you are not beholden. Yeah, just go nuts. It'll be
Yeah,
like
no,
Spinal Tap. It'll
I
be
could
fine.
do that. I won't though, because it was a good deal because it's this and yeah, and Andy's like, you have the omnibus, like you have. I just bought the artist edition. Like I have the story, 6 Ways to Sunday,
Mhm.
but and now I have this hunka slabbiness.
Really, I'm curious, John. You're somebody that we haven't talked to a lot about comic books, but I'm interested. What is your thought of the slab? Do you like the slab? Do you not like the slab?
So
Would you rather have it loose?
Are you a slab man?
I am a slab man. I prefer to have. So I don't know. Again, protecting comics is part of the whole process for me. When we talked in our last conversation, my friend that gave me the books when I was younger also imparted on me how important it was to get the sleeves and to get the boards and to make sure, with magic tape. And I mean, that's all part of it too. But the quick answer is, yeah, once in a while. I mean, I have a little stack of slabs, but I like to take my comics out and read them too.
Yeah. I'm a monster. I will take the whole story if I can and put it into one Silver Age bag. And so if I want to read Bug Wars, it's there and I dropped it. Crud. But yeah, so and then when I'm done, and I stick it back in that giant bag.
I used to be of the opinion that slabs were the devil because, like, comic books were meant to be treasured and hugged and loved and read and stuff like that. But then I started to think to myself that, like, if I was going to buy a comic book that was really expensive, and some of them that I have in my collection are kind of expensive, I don't read those ones. I actually honestly don't even take them out of the box. Like, they just sit in a place and I know that they're there. And that's sad, but that's the honest to God truth. Because, like, I am afraid to take it out of the bag. I'm afraid to handle it. I'm afraid to look at it because I did spend a chunk of change on it and it is worth something out there. So at that point, I kind of sort of say, well, why isn't it slabbed? Like, why isn't it? Like, if I'm not touching it, if I'm not doing anything with it, why am I not protecting it even better by encasing it?
I want to touch it with my hands.
Encasing it in
I want to
carbonite.
smell the insides.
And putting it up on my wall and putting a bunch of scum and villainy around it. Like, just put them there, and then, like, some lady can come try to release the comic book someday. You have blindness sickness. It will pass. Someone who loves you. I don't know. I love Return of the Jedi. In any case, so yeah, George, final thoughts on slabbing versus loose.
I own one slab comic that I bought completely by accident. I was like looking to fill in a Thor collection, like the Danny Cates volume of Thor. I had like fallen behind. They were sold out at my local shop. They were sold out online. So I just went to eBay, and I had no idea that one of them was slabbed. And I'm like torn because I'm like, I don't really care about the run, like I was collecting it for the sake of like, oh, I've got every Thor comic going back the last 20 years. Like, that was why I wanted it. And I didn't want to have like one gap in the collection, but it's like, oh, fuck, man. Like, I can't fit this in a box. Like, I can't put this in my short box with the rest of the issues. I genuinely don't care. Like, if you have like a pristine silver, like, that's sick. That's super cool. I hope you have that slabbed, and I hope you have a beater to like actually read too. Because I'm like, these were made to be read.
But they
I
come
will.
in
They're
so
funny
many
though. Some are funny. Like I would love to get like a random issue of Flash that's completely meaningless and like get that slabbed. And it's like, why this one? I'm like, you don't understand. There was a typo on page 8 that I wanted preserved, hermetically sealed forever. Like some bullshit. Like
I
that.
wanted to never see it again.
Like I love going to like Comic Cons and seeing like the Pokemon slabs they have, and some of them are just in like a little $5 bin because they're just like, who gives a shit about a 7.0 Wigglytuff? You know, it's like no one cares about that. And so, like I want it to feel more like that. And like the only reason I would slab books, like I would slab the important books to me, but only if I had a second copy. So like I would get like Planetary 1 slabbed, Batgirl 1 from 2000 slabbed, and then that would just be like my wall mural would just be the slabs. Like I wouldn't give a shit if it was a 7.5 or a 9.3. Like I don't. It's not why I do it. But if you want to protect and like I completely respect it. I bag and board, and every 20 years, I guess, I will rebag and reboard for the
Do
the
it
acid.
again.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of bagging and boarding, we've got to take our first commercial break for this episode. We'll be right back with more Last Comic Shop right after this. We're going to make sure that you're paying attention because you can get a discount on said bags and boards with this.
Hey fellas, looking to save money on your collectible supplies? Whether it's comics, cards, sports memorabilia, or miscellaneous pop culture goodies, make sure to use promo code LCSPOD to get 10% off your orders at bcwsupplies.com. Not only does it get you a discount on BCW's already low prices, but using LCSPod at checkout is an amazing way to show support to the Last Comic Shop podcast, the most incredible comic book podcast on the airwaves. So if you are in need of collectible supplies, head out to bcwsupplies.com and use promo code LCSPOD today. That's promo code LCSPOD.
All right, we're back with more of the Last Comic Shop. Thank you so much to bcwsupplies.com for letting us have that promo code LCSPOD. Make sure that you're using that at checkout. Get 10% off of the bags, boards, boxes, and stuff that you need to keep your comic books looking fresh, including copies of Spider-Man, adjectiveless Spider-Man 17. Which was, again, the episode that's currently out on lastcomicshoppodcast.com, featuring the wonderful John Davis. Can't plug it enough. It's a great episode, so make sure that you're checking out that. Now, Chad, as we were, during our commercial break, you mentioned that you wanted to talk about weird comic books that are ridiculously hard to get now.
Yeah. So it's, well, no, and the thing that made me think of this is the slabbedness of it all. Because there are two wolves inside me. There's the wolf that is the comic book reader and comic book lover that wants to open them up and draw the pictures and feel the pages and have that tactile experience. And then there's the comic book collector. And the comic book collector that's like, well, I need this to complete this run. Or, oh, this is the new hot thing and I want to see what that's all about. And I want to know, and has FOMO and all that stuff. But recently, the big thing has been, and this happened repeatedly the last 3 weeks in particular. It started off, there was a book called Dork that before it hit the stands, it was selling for, $50, $60 on the secondary markets. And so comic shops weren't, if you didn't order Dork ahead of time, you were not getting a copy of Dork. And then the next week, it was a book called White Sky, which our man Jay, who gets a lot of his books digitally, was plugging. And I can't imagine you have those problems digitally because you're just getting the digital copies. But if he were trying to go into a comic shop and try and get it, he would have had to pay $40, $50 to get a copy of White Sky. And then this past week, it was Nectar and Murder Drones was in there. It seems like there's like 1 or 2 books every week where it's craziness now. And have you guys dealt with any of that at all?
I haven't dealt with that specifically. It's been increasingly hard for me to find the A cover for a lot of books, though. And like that's what I generally prefer, unless it's like Like a Jay Lee cover. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I love that dude. So it like, but like finding like I have so many like, all due respect to the people involved, like bullshit covers that I don't want, but it was just the only copy I could find at my local comic shop. When I say local, it's like an hour and a half away. So it's like it really sucks when you drive an hour and a half to the comic book store, knowing you have to drive an hour and a half back. And the only cover they have of X-Men is a bullshit Marvel Legends Gambit figure. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, okay, I will buy this not because I want to, because I have to. No, I don't.
I mean,
it's not even the ones where it's like an animated, like him in the. It's like an actual toy photography.
Yeah, they just took a picture. I saw there's a McFarlane one where they had. I was like, is that a McFarlane Spider-Man cover? Which, by the way, there was a new one this week. Oh
man,
Invincible.
Controversial book. They made some changes to it.
I saw.
Yeah.
But then there's another one that Marvel released, and it's just a picture of the McFarlane statue. And it's like, what's that?
Oh my god, no, it's so annoying.
As an aside, I was very excited this week. I finished my collection of all the 2015 Secret Wars, but with all of like the Secret War figure covers, like the action figure covers. That took me a little bit of time.
No, those are fun. I'm not dogging those.
Those are
dogging,
cool.
Like the big bad toy store variant covers or whatever the fuck you want to call it, and like the hip hop covers from a couple years ago, like those were cool. Like something like themed, and like when DC did like the movie poster themed for the,
like it literally was like a picture of one of these guys zoomed out.
Okay, yeah, don't love that.
Oh so man, this is my Ollie's special. Ollie's for the win.
It's been harder for me to find that. I will say the Dork book, which is like half dwarf, half orc, right? That was the premise of the book. I am not surprised that blew up because the hardest book to find ever when I was in high school. Do you guys remember Mouse Guard?
Yes. Yeah.
By David Peterson and is it Archaea? I think it was like the
Archaea. Yeah, they put it out.
That book is 6 issues. It's such a pain in the ass to track down. Like trying to get issue 1 was like literally the hardest thing ever. So I just gave up because I was 15 and frankly didn't care that much. But like I just felt like I got left behind on the books. I'm just like, I gotta find this thing that was hot while I was going to the shop, and that's how I feel about Dork. Because no, I didn't get a copy of it.
Well, so
damn it.
I was talking to my comic shop guy about this just because like a lot of these books have names like I've never heard of before. And like I could see the McFarlane Invincible cover selling out because everybody who's a comic fan knows Tom McFarlane. But like I was like Nectar or Murder Drones, like why? And he was like,
man, Murder Drones. There's a pretty good review of that over at AIPTcomics.com.
Oh, see, you're getting better at like
there you go.
Your shit.
The collector wolf in me I tracked down a copy of Murder Drones when I.
Sure, you want all of the books I review, so I expect you'll also track down Spider-Gwen 8, Detective Comics 1106.
I have Spider-Gwen 8 over there too.
Yeah, the George collection, yeah.
but no, my new comic shop guy, which I just started going there probably 2 months ago, maybe. But I was talking about Nectar. He's like, "Do you want a copy?" I was like, "Excuse me?" He's like, "We have some. Do you want one?" And like, I had no plans on buying Nectar. I was just talking about it because it was like the hot thing that I didn't understand. And he's like,
did he have like a trench coat and he like opened it up and he's just like, I know you want.
And I was like, well, if you have it, I'll check it out because Collector Wolf in me wants to know what's going on. And then I was like, yeah, I'm surprised you have that. It's, just like Dork. We brought up Dork. And he's like, so we have the second prints. Do you want a second print? And I'm like, all right, give me the Dork. Which this one I read, this is like they're both really fun books. I enjoyed the Dork. And so I went to try to sign up and buy the rest of the issues, but I missed FOC for issue 2, so I don't know if I'm gonna get Dork 2.
It's tough, man, because like Dork seems like a book I would like, but like I want it as a trade. And it's like if I don't buy the floppies, are we going to get more than the first volume? Like, I don't know. So like, I'm just like, I have to double dip and then I have to decide if I want to sell either the trade or the singles. And like, I don't want to do that. That's not why I got into this, was to manage my money. I got into this to completely disregard finances and just have fun while doing it.
Yeah. Well, that's curious. One of the things I had asked Chad was like, whether like, I'm still stuck on like why certain books, like all of a sudden they're like, I mean, like that White Skies one, it's like, yeah, I mean, it looked kind of like, you know, I guess you could make a movie out of it, shrugs one day. And then Chad had mentioned, it's like everybody's looking for the next Walking Dead. Like, that's what they want. They want that Walking Dead #1, where it was like, it came out of nowhere and then it was huge. Everybody bought, and I'm like, you realize how like ridiculous that is to think about, that you would, like, it's a needle in a haystack sometimes. Like,
Yeah, there are 1,000 comic books that come out that are not Walking Dead #1.
Right. And then Chad had mentioned, and I don't know, maybe John has a Walking Dead fan. John, do you like Walking Dead? Did you read Walking Dead?
Just the show.
Okay. What I was going to say was I had mentioned that, like, Walking Dead doesn't get good in the comic books for a little bit.
Oh,
It's
full of beans.
No, he's right. He's right.
It takes a little bit of time. At first, it just seems like, this is like every other zombie thing. It's good, but
the first couple issues are just 28 days later.
Right, exactly. So, like, if you're buying that, you're not going to be like, oh my gosh, this is like the greatest zombie thing that ever happened, ever. Like, no, you're going to be like, this is just a zombie book. And like, then it, like, you just happen to randomly get it, and then next thing you know, it's the best thing since sliced bread. But again, because I will say that is what comic book speculators always want, is the market we kind of sort of have now, which is like limited print runs. There aren't really a lot of books, and like, if you don't get them, then you don't get them, and that means it's scarce and it's rare, and that makes it valuable, right?
Yeah, but that's not fair. I at least want people to tell me what the good stuff is going to be, so that I can make sure that I pick it up. And now, if I don't order some book I've never heard of, from some creators I've never heard of, from some company that I've barely heard of, which I've heard of Vault and stuff like that. But you know what I mean?
Image.
So Chad, you can, and I was looking it up. Dork #1, first print, the cover A by Brett Bean, near mint. You can have it for $119.95 for the best one.
Son of a nutcracker! That just came out 3 weeks ago. Yeah. Why is it? Why?
This is happening with everything, though. Like, if you look up, like, there's no reason, like, Super Paper Mario and the 1,000-Year Door was like a GameCube game that was blood. I remember buying that when I was in college. It was $15.
Yeah,
it was like after the Wii had come out. It's like no one really gave a shit about GameCube. I'm just like, oh yeah, I remember playing this game and liking it. I should get. It's like $250 now, even though there was a remake on Switch. But like, there's just everything just exploded. Like, there's the value. This is becoming like the stock market for people who are frankly too chicken shit to get into the stock market. I'm not a financial person. I'm not saying you should get into the stock market.
Well, it's not just that.
Not legal financial advice.
It's the decline in physical media. Stuff. Physical media.
Yeah.
Like, so physical games, physical copies of games, they've disappeared. Comic book shops don't sell as many physical copies of comic books anymore. And again, it is why things will become valuable, because they are rare and there are not many of them. That's the whole reason why people were wrong about the speculation bubble in the 90s, because there were millions of copies of those books, so they were never going to be rare. They were never, like, Spawn 1 is still never going to be rare because there are so many.
But it just grinds my gears, because, like, George, if you wanted Super Paper Mario when it came out, you could get a copy of Super Paper Mario when it came out for retail. Sure. Now, it's Wednesday. The books haven't even gone out on the shelves, and they're already $50-$60. I used to at least get a crack at it and be like, oh, like you brought up the Donny Cates Thor. I remember that one was actually on my pull list, and my comic shop guy was like, yeah, no one else is getting this. This is a $50 issue now. And that was like one of those, like, either pandemic things or whatever, but like people were going crazy because it was a new character. But like, that's what it is. Every week there's another book like that.
Yeah. But conversely, it is a supply demand thing, though, because like I was talking to my near comic shop, local feels disingenuous. I was talking to him, and I bought like 2 or 3 copies of Absolute Batman 1 because I'm like, oh, this looks sick. Like, I want 2 copies of the A, and then like this alternate cover looks sick. I didn't know that first issue is going for like $250 now. And like that book just hit its like 10th or 12th.
11th printing just this week. And it is true. It's all those. I sometimes dabble in watching some of the reels that some people put out about these are the books that you should be buying. Again, that speculator itch. I start. You got some of them Absolute Batmans over there. Yeah. No, I get it. It's always like number one. It's always like, get this book if you can, because it's only going to go up if you get that first printing of Absolute Batman.
But explain this to me, because this doesn't make sense. Oh, go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to say, I did the same thing with the Joker, right? So when Absolute Batman number 15 came out, I bought a couple copies of the Nick Dragota cover, and I got a couple copies of the Jop cover because he actually did the interiors on that one.
That one was sick. Great cover.
First appearance of that. Well, I mean, the first cover appearance of that Joker. And like, who even knows how it works anymore? Because the collector side of me is saying, well, it's like the Wolverine first appearance. It's his first appearance on a cover that way. And then, it's in a big way for me, it was a fear of missing out. And it's like, well, hey, maybe, just get these extra couple copies just in case.
Exactly. Next thing you're buying books with butterflies on them.
I know. I bought a book about horror butterflies.
What is that?
They come out of the kids from Salem, Massachusetts. Like, but with the DC books, so like Absolute Batman, and this is another thing that is very confusing to me about comic books today. And George has alluded to it. It's the importance of the A cover, right? You want the hot book, you got to get the A cover. And DC, Absolute Batman, the A cover is the most valuable of all the covers, I'm pretty sure, unless there's some rando like ultra exclusive. But then all of those cardstock covers that you get that are worth less money than the A cover, DC's so cheap, the A cover is underneath the cardstock cover. Why? How? Like, who's out there, passing on, a B or a C cover, X amount of dollars when the A cover's, 30% more, and being like, no, I want the A cover. It's in there. It's like ragu. It's in there. It's just underneath.
It's in the sauce. Don't worry about it. You put your Italian sausage, put a little wine, put a little sugar. This is how you cook for 15 people.
But yeah, rarely do I buy the foil or the cardstock covers for DC just because I'm cheap and they're $1 more. But I don't get that either. How they can charge more for the A cover in the collector's market, but it's inside all the cardstock ones. I don't know.
Yeah, if anything, that's just like a higher quality cover because it's protected by that thick cardstock.
Yeah, it's like it comes with a backboard almost.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the time we had for this particular segment. We will be right back with more Last Comic Shop after, again, a commercial break from our sponsor, BCW Supplies. So make sure that you're getting your bags and boards. Here it is again, kids.
Hey fellas, looking to save money on your collectible supplies? Whether it's comics, cards, sports memorabilia, or miscellaneous pop culture goodies, make sure to use promo code LCSPOD to get 10% off your orders at bcwsupplies.com. Not only does it get you a discount on BCW's already low prices, but using LCSPod at checkout is an amazing way to show support to the Last Comic Shop podcast, the most incredible comic book podcast on the airwaves. So if you are in need of collectible supplies, head out to bcwsupplies.com and use promo code LCSPOD today. That's promo code LCSPOD.
All right, we're back with more of the Last Comic Shop, and it is now time to finally get to the segment which maybe you tuned in for. Who knows? Maybe you tuned in just to see Chad's flashlight, because that's
Don't you got to be careful saying that. That
Yeah.
sounds like something else.
Over enunciate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Flash or the Galactus head.
Yeah.
The Galactus head, the popcorn bucket. I don't know if John's ever seen the popcorn bucket.
Wait, I forget. Where's this button?
We're all
got a
showing our toys now.
I know about the popcorn bucket. I couldn't go for the Galactus, but I did get.
Oh no, my Galactus's batteries are dead. I'm gonna have to change that out.
My
He
goodness.
used to light up too.
My goodness. George is going to run to get something else. While George is doing that, so the segment that some of you might have tuned in for was the top 10 most controversial comic book storylines of the last, let's just say, 25 years or so. This is not my list, by the way. I don't do homework really well, and this episode was kind of thrown together at the last minute. So I went out like a good host should and found somebody else's work. So this actually comes from comicbooks.com, which I sometimes check out. They sometimes have interesting articles, but
They're cool. They're not as cool as AIPT Comics.
No, they aren't, because they don't have George writing for them. For sure.
Or that cool pata song.
Yeah, what does that stand? What does that stand for, George?
It stands. I do. I had to re-Google it. It stands for Adventures in Poor Taste.
Oh,
Pata.
pata. Make sure that you check it out, George. Over at pata. Any case, so there's going to be 10. So we're going to do the first 5, and then we'll take a commercial break and come back for the other 5. Again, some of these books I've never actually even read before, so I'm hoping that other people have, so that they can fill me in. So number 10 on the list is they said it was this storyline in the Ultimates where Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were having twin stuff, like creepy twin stuff.
Twincest, yeah, I believe is what they call it.
Yeah, yes, that was the term that they use. I don't exactly know the issues. It's up on the screen right now.
I know the issues.
Okay, go ahead, George. What issues are they?
I mean, that was Ultimates Volume 2, right? And then it was Volume 3. It was a Jeff Loeb, Joe Mads.
Was
stuff?
it 2? It was Joe Mad.
Joe Mad was the 3 with Jeff Loeb.
Yeah.
It was done by Millar, Hitch, and Curry. That's on the cover that we have pulled up right now. They're in an embrace like this. They're like, she's like laying his head on his shoulder, and he's looking all intense, like, yeah, what do you want? What do you want from us? So, I never read it. I didn't read a lot of the Ultimates, to be honest, but I'm hoping other people on this show can comment on not only the controversial thing, but whether it was truly icky or not. It seems icky.
I fucking love the Ultimates so much. I know it's like a really I know it's a problematic book because of the people involved and because of what the people did and because of how characters were portrayed. I do not give a shit. I don't really like Mark Millar, however we're pronouncing it in 2026. I do think he's just Diet Warren Ellis, like a weird.
Wow. All right. Well, it's not.
I don't think I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong.
You are not. Well, I would have worse things to say, but the fact,
I like Mark Millar. The worst thing is my compliment. He's like, for me, is like he's like the Michael Bay of comics, but good. But they're all backhanded compliments at best.
So again, which issues are these, George? Do you know?
I think this is volume 2.
Oh, it's issue 8. It starts off with issue 8. This is what issue 8's the cover that's up. I guess
it was just those characters. Because it's Ultimates, like that was the whole point of Ultimates. They had everything ratcheted up to 11. You had the Captain America with the, you think this A stands for France, and he's all, just over the top. And you had the twins that were way too close, and then Magneto kills everybody with the flood.
Yeah, and
starts eating the
like
wasp.
Hank gives Janet like one slap in the 616, right? Like that was like where the
Yeah,
man,
no.
he fucking hospitalizes her in the Ultimates and like
Right.
sprays her with Raid and shit. And then she starts banging Captain America, and then Hank goes off and forms the Defenders with a bunch of like fake superheroes, and then he ends up banging some like NYU student who's like pretending to be Valkyrie or whatever. Like, this is dark stuff. It was weird shit.
Did you read the Ultimates, John?
I did 2 and 3, and actually that bleeds over into 3.
Oh yeah.
When somebody kills the Scarlet Witch, because there's this hilarious panel. I think it's the first issue of Ultimates 3. That and by the way, this was around the time I started to get back into comics, and these guys were like 6 months apart when these issues came out. I don't know what the holdup was, but if you remember when Ultimates 3 came out, they took their time. But Pedro keeps trying to catch the bullet, and it keeps evading him. And he was unable to keep his hands off of his sister while he's trying to catch the bullet that ultimately, well, you can guess what happens.
Also, looking at this cover in the background, I think this is volume 1 of the Ultimates. This is the 8th issue of the Ultimates ever, not volume 2.
Okay.
They were busy in volume 2.
Yeah. That's Ultimates volume 1, volume 2.
They were busy all over the place. It's a storyline. Keep in mind that these are storylines, not just one issue or whatever. But these are good stories. Again, it's like what George said. I didn't like the fact that they were shitting on all of my favorite characters. I was never an X-Men guy. I was a Fantastic Four and an Avengers guy. And if you read the Ultimates, who do they shit on the most? I feel the Fantastic Four and the Avengers. Like they give you like the crap for like.
How much is the Maker as a concept piss you off?
The Maker now is awesome. Because I do agree that there is a real place for the Dick Reed Richards, right? Like, I like the fact that there's a douchebag Reed Richards that's just like an evil guy that does evil stuff, because, you know, that makes me feel better about the 616 Reed Richards. And I'm like, you know, he has all these other things that balance him out. He's not like, yeah, he's a dick at sometimes, but he's not that. There's actually a guy that is the Dick. That's the Maker. And so for me, I'm okay with the Maker. I think he's an interesting character now. He's the equal but opposite Reed Richards, which I've mentioned on many occasions. If you want to make a good bad guy, just make equal but opposite. And then put them in green and purple. That's what you need to do. Because all the primary colors were for the heroes. And all the secondary colors were for the bad guys. I learned that this week. Orange, purple, green, they're all the bad guy colors, because red, blue, and yellow, those are the good guy colors. That's how it is set. At a glance, you can tell the difference between a good guy and a bad guy.
And plus, the Maker's head's real big.
Yeah, it is a cool look.
That's no bueno.
Any case, that was number 10. Moving on to number 9 here. Let me see where number 9 is on here. Number 9 is they've just indicated Superman renounces his citizenship from Action Comics 900, or maybe started in 900.
Yeah.
Shrugs. Again, another book I didn't read. I didn't even know this was a thing until I think we did like a trivia contest like on the show like 2 years ago, and they were like, oh no, that happened, and I was just like, okay, it happened. Anybody's thoughts on this either being controversial or not so much? I don't know. Like,
I think the worst part about it is that it was such an underdeveloped story, because I'm pretty sure this was like really early in 2011, and then it says April 2011, and then isn't 2011? Isn't that New 52?
Yeah, like in a couple of weeks.
In August. So like they were like, oh wow, what a bold thing for Superman to do. It's like, all right, for fucking 3 months, you pansies. Like, you didn't do anything, you know? Like,
yeah.
and just reset the universe at the end of the Flashpoint or whatever the hell that was called. And so I was like, all right, like you made a brave decision that you immediately pulled the plug on.
Yeah, no, for me, this, and I didn't read this story either. This just highlights how dumb the real world is, not Superman, where it's like Superman wants to be a citizen of the world or whatever, and, you know, take a stand for things, and people are getting mad about this fictional character because he's hurting their feelings or whatever. I don't know. It's the real world's stupid.
No, I remember people were pissed about, and then I think this was like during like the Superman, like the JMS era, like walking across America, or like it came like just after it, and that's when I was studying abroad and I didn't have access to an LCS, so I was visiting certain websites.
Which
to
broad
keep up.
were you studying?
I don't feel comfortable sharing that information on a live stream.
In any case, it's all right.
Nice person, but I don't.
There you go. Well, you were studying abroad, so there you go. Number 8 on the list was, according to them, Amazing Spider-Man 700. Shrugs. I remember this issue. I remember the cover with all the Spider-Mans all smushed together to make a face. I do remember that.
It's a sick cover.
I don't exactly remember what happened in it though.
What? Doc Ock kills Spider-Man.
Yeah, so it's right before Superior Spider-Man.
Oh, this is right before. Okay, all right. So this is right before Superior Spider-Man. Okay, I did. Now I remember why, because this is when, like, I do recall being so angry at Dan Slott at this point that I think I threw something and said, what am I doing with my life and in this book that I loved and treasured as for years. First, they get rid of the marriage that I absolutely loved. Then Chad somehow pulls me back by saying, like, Brand New Day is okay, which it was, and then they give me the Gauntlet, which was good. Again, the Gauntlet, you could still have done everything that was done in the Gauntlet, though, with Spider-Man being married to Mary Jane. Like, that had nothing to do with, that was just a good story with, like, revisiting the Rogues. But then, like, Dan Slott takes over, and this is the beginning of, like, we're going to do a lot of fuckery and in retrospect, again, another good idea that eventually came out with it, because I do think that, and I think Chad has agreed with me, that when Dan Slott was actually writing Doc Ock as Spider-Man, it was actually better, because at least it wasn't Peter Parker. It was some other dude being Spider-Man. So at least you could, like, go, all right, well, it's just some other dude. Like, and like anything with Dan Slott, when he writes for characters you don't care about, it's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
So, right, Chad? I mean, that we were in agreement on that.
Yes, no, that was always my problem with Dan Slott when he got a hold of the Amazing Spider-Man book and kept writing it for a decade, like 3 times a month for a decade. Like just the fact of the matter is, Dan Slott, who I'm certain, you know, is probably a fine human being, but he has a different Peter Parker in his head than I have in mine. And so for him to be writing my favorite book for that long, and so many of the choices he made were just misguided in there, like at the heart of the matter. Like, the character wasn't right. And then he killed him. And I'm like, oh man, you killed Spider-Man. But then he turns Doc Ock into Spider-Man. I was like, oh wait, I can appreciate this, because now he's not messing up Peter Parker anymore. And his Doc Ock was fun. And, you know, I didn't have to have the same qualms because I wasn't as attached to Doc Ock. And I knew, like, everybody's all upset, like, oh, he took out Peter Parker. Like, you know, Peter Parker's coming back in, you know, a year or 2 years or whatever.
You kept telling me that, but it still did. It wasn't like it was like some sort of healing balm. It wasn't like he threw like a magic potion at me. He's going to come back. I'm like, yeah, but what am I supposed to do in like the 2 years that it takes to resolve this story? Just stare at the wall and not read Spider-Man comics?
The best answer to that was Superior Foes of Spider-Man, which is still one of the premier Spider-Man stories of all time.
You're right on that. You're right on that. John, any thoughts on this? Did you read this? Did you like this? Did you not like this?
I mean, Chad said it best earlier, and I don't like Spider-Man being messed with to that degree. So, well, Peter Parker anyway. I thought Odd choices I would have made.
All right.
What?
Moving on to any last thoughts? No?
Yeah, I just like. Isn't it cool seeing characters you like do different shit?
No,
Okay.
not when they turn him into Iron Man billionaire Parker Industries. No, that's friggin' Iron Man, Dan Slott.
That's
You're
right.
the wrong guy.
I got great news for you. Peter Parker didn't do that.
No, he screwed it up whenever it was in his hands, but
No, like
he was
legally.
still in charge of Parker Industries.
Okay. Yeah, but he paid for that on the Spencer run, so it's fine.
And I like, again, I like Dan Slott when he did. I actually like the Silver Surfer, although don't ask JA what he thinks of the Silver Surfer Dan Slott run. You'll hear the same thing. I like his Iron Man run. He brought Machine Man back in. It was a lot of good. It was a lot of fun. But I don't give two shits about Tony Stark. Never have, never will. So I was like, okay, I'd be willing to just listen to a story about him. Peter Parker, though, that's no goods. Moving on to the next one. This was just entitled "When Zorn Was Magneto." This was controversial. Again, I'm not saying it was bad or good. This is actually, I think, good. It's a secret shame of mine that I haven't actually read the Grant Morrison run of X-Men. We should do it on the podcast. We really should.
It's so good.
I know. It's one of Mikey Wood's. It's actually, I think, Mikey Wood's only time he really loved X-Men was when Grant Morrison did it. For shameless plug for our good friend Mikey. But I do recall, I think this is why I didn't read it, though. Because of the fact that I know this exists. Right? Like, because I know this big plot twist that happens in the middle, which I'm then now spoiling for everybody. TS, it's like 30 years old at this point. Because I know about it, part of me is like, well, then why am I going to read it? Because, like, it's like, I don't know. It's like knowing the trick of Fight Club, and I'm sure people know the trick of Fight Club, but at the time, I didn't know the trick of Fight Club.
And you're not supposed to talk about it, damn it.
But I didn't know until I watched it for the first time, and I'm like, holy shit. Or like, Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. Didn't see that
Spoilers!
I mean, weren't people just pissed because they really liked Zorn as like a new character, and then for it to be Magneto is like they killed Zorn, and I thought that was the big issue.
But then they brought Magneto and Zorn back, and they're like, nah, and it's like, wait, why did you?
John, any thoughts before we move on to 6?
Just in a broader scope, I was happy to see how they solved that whole problem with X-Men later on. But yeah.
Okay.
Do you mean Hawks and Pox, or how did they solve the X-Men problem?
Well, I mean, X-Men have had a problem of killing characters and characters coming in and out and just arbitrarily. It was never quite made sense. Like, do you remember when Nightcrawler came back from the dead after Second Coming, I think? He was just on a cloud, and he's like, I think I'll get back to Earth. Yeah.
And like
and Jonathan
Colossus.
all of it.
Yeah. There's actually a really, I did it as a recommendation on a previous episode of the Last Comic Shop. If you ever want a really interesting book, it came out of the Ecstatic series that Peter Milligan and Mike Allred did. He did a 5-issue miniseries called Dead Girl, which was one of the characters from Ecstatics and X-Force or whatever. And that whole series, that whole 5 issues is all about, again, the existential likeness of characters that stay dead versus the characters that come back. And it's all a popularity contest. And if nobody cares about you, you stay dead. And if you do, if people care about you, then you're, and it's pretty great and pretty scathing at points. And it's got great Mike Allred art. So you should check out Dead Girl, that 5-issue miniseries. Moving on to number 6. the All-Star Batman and Robin series. Frank Miller and Jim Lee. I think this was a slash on their list with Holy Roller.
Holy Terror.
Or
Holy
Holy
Roller is the
Taylor.
bowling one.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. That's the one that was done by the I'm on a Boat guy.
Andy
right?
Samberg, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this was with Holy Terror. So All-Star Batman. The only thing, again, another book. Boy, I guess I just stay away from all the controversial ones because I didn't read this one either. I did read one section though, which is I'm the goddamn Batman.
Yeah.
That if I could have tattooed that on my back, and just like, I don't know.
That's a weird tramp stamp to have.
Somebody just huge, like across my back, just enormous. If somebody was like in a grocery store or something, and I'd just be, it's like, oh, why did you have 12 or 14 items in the 12 item line? I'd be like, because I'm the goddamn Batman.
Batman wouldn't stand for that shit. He's all about justice. He's the knight. You have 14 items. He's going to break your jaw.
The Jim Lee art is really, really nice. I was a huge fan of Jim Lee doing Batman on Hush. It's a book that I want to cover on the Last Comic Shop at some point, just because it was the greatest hit. And it brought me back into the tent. I remember I wasn't reading comic books for a little while, and then I saw Hush. Like John, that's why we're chums, we're pals. It brought me back and then you were like, oh look, there's Superman. Oh look, there's Catwoman, and there's it was greatest hits, and that's all I wanted. But this book, who read it? Who read All-Star Batman Robin? All right, who wants to go first? Educate me on why it's so controversial. I guess first of all, why is it controversial?
Well, go ahead. I mean,
I think if you think this book is controversial, you're a goddamn baby. Like, this book came out the week of my 15th birthday, and it was the coolest fucking thing that could have happened. No, this book is written like shit. I really enjoy it, but like everyone was so excited. Like, this was, I remember like the forums and message boards on IGN. That was like my big comic book resource back in the day. I really liked the Hillary Goldstein era and like the Rich George era. They were the editor in chief of the comic section, so I just gravitated towards that. Everyone was so hyped for this, like, holy shit, Frank Miller's back and Jim Lee's drawing. This is going to be incredible. And then you show up and it's just like, what if Batman were really fucking angry at everything for being alive and breathing in his vision? Like, that was basically the book. There was one really funny sequence where he was fucking with Green Lantern and like painted an entire room in yellow paint. And I was just like, that's stupid but really funny. But no, this book was sick, man. Like, this was supposed to be DC's answer to the Ultimate line, right? Like, let's just take these well-known characters, do something that's like new, fresh, out of continuity, but familiar. And it was supposed to be huge. Like, I remember there was supposed to be like an all-star Power Girl book, like written and drawn by Adam Hughes. Like, that was supposed to happen. And the only other book we got, I think, was All-Star Superman, right? Like, there was no other book. There was a follow-up, like, All-Star Batman by Snyder and John Romita Jr., I want to say. Like,
yeah, that was years later.
Rebirth, yeah, like in 2016 or so. But, like, no, man, this book was just hot because it was just, like, the first big thing Jim Lee did after For Tomorrow, which was, like, the Superman version of Hush, right? And so it was fucking sick. It wasn't very good, but I liked it. He was a dick. He was a huge dick. That's why it was controversial.
Yeah. All right, Chad, any other thoughts?
So Frank Miller, one of comics greats. As I pull in my 8.0 with those white pages. But no, think of the impact that Frank Miller had on Batman in the span of 8 issues. Right? Batman Year One is 4 issues. The Dark Knight Returns is 4 issues. They changed Batman forever. And you hear Batman is coming back by Frank Miller with art by Jim Lee, who's, one of the premier comic book artists, and everybody is so excited. But the problem is, this is Frank Miller's like crazy pants years.
Yeah.
Where he's got some bad chemicals or some bad ideas cooking in his brain, and it is not the same quality of storytelling as 1986 Frank Miller. The book not only lacks the impact of those 2 other 4-issue Batman stories, it never finishes. It gets to issue 10 of a 12-issue series and just stops.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of reasons to not like this book, but I'm similar to George in that, like, I enjoyed it for what it was. You know, it was a crazy pants Elseworld, like, you know, for as much as everybody loves Absolute Batman for how insane it was, like,
Yeah.
This was that. Before that, it just wasn't as well done. Take Meatball Batman, but make it kind of crappy. And now you have All-Star Batman.
That's the 10-cent synopsis I wanted. That is what I just want. Because to be honest, as somebody that's never read this, all I can think of is, like, it seems like this is just what they're doing with Absolute Batman now, and that's a hit. But then you said that, except it was not as good. Okay, that's that. John, final thoughts before we go to commercial break.
Final thought. So I think it was controversial because they framed it as Batman kidnapping a kid. He stole Robin. He stole him.
Yeah, he does.
And drafted him into a war. And people are like the cops are after him for kidnapping. So Batman is really turned into a criminal now. So they framed it in a way where, oh my God, like they turned it, you know, Frank Miller turned him into a villain. And the goddamn Batman is, I mean, he means it. Like this guy is, you know.
He's a sociopath.
Unhinged,
exactly.
For sure.
So, but this kid is off his rocker at the same time because he tries to kill Green Lantern, and then they have to give him a trach while they're in that yellow room. And so this kid is going out of his mind while, you know, Batman's torturing him. And Alfred has to like take him a cheeseburger because he's like, he can eat rats in the cave like I did. Like he has to, you know, he's in a war now. This is, you know, so that's why it's controversial. He was
okay.
He really beat this kid. So
he also called him the R word right before he said, "I'm the goddamn Batman." I remember that. And being like, I didn't know you could write that in a comic book.
Yeah, you can. You couldn't. You shouldn't have. That's what happened.
All right. We'll be back with the top 5 of this list right after this commercial break. So stay tuned for more Last Comic Shop right after this.
Hey fellas, looking to save money on your collectible supplies? Whether it's comics, cards, sports memorabilia, or miscellaneous pop culture goodies, make sure to use promo code LCSPOD to get 10% off your orders at bcwsupplies.com. Not only does it get you a discount on BCW's already low prices, but using LCS Pod at checkout is an amazing way to show support to the Last Comic Shop podcast, the most incredible comic book podcast on the airwaves. So if you are in need of collectible supplies, head out to bcwsupplies.com and use promo code LCSPOD today. That's promo code LCSPOD.
All right, we're back with more of the Last Comic Shop. Again, we're doing a list that I found out on comicbook.com of the top 10 most controversial storylines in comic books over the past, like, 20, 25 years or whatever. Honestly, the main reason I picked this list was because of number 1. We will eventually get to number 1. It's actually what caused this whole conversation to begin with when George sent me a text and was like, why don't we talk about this? And I was just like, yeah, let's talk about that because I fucking hate that idea, and that's number 1. So we'll actually get to it.
Spoiler alert!
Everybody knows it though. If you have been listening to the Last Comic Shop over the last, I don't know how many years we've been doing it, everybody knows what my least favorite moment in comic books was.
If you listened to Andy 12 minutes ago, you brought it up again during another
story. It's just in casual conversation twice a day.
You can't swing a dead cat without hitting it. It's there.
Why are you swinging dead cats? Save it, man. Let's get to number 5.
Save it. Let's get to number 5 here. So number 5 on the list. By the way, you just saw real quickly. You just saw our upcoming episode this Tuesday will be part of the Merry Marvel March Society. It's JA's pick. It is. We're going to be doing Phoenix, Orbital Resonance. So it's the first trade of the most recent Phoenix run done by Stephanie Phillips. So yeah, you can see whether or not we like that. Plus, it's going to have the I think it's the 5th annual Marvel Trivia Challenge with me and Chad going head to head to see who knows more Marvel trivia than the other schmuck.
I love it when you guys do that so much.
That's coming up this Tuesday. Don't miss it. Rate, review, and subscribe over at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com so you don't miss it. Moving on to number 5.
I was gonna say spoilers. That Phoenix book, great covers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. One of the nicest things about that book was the covers. Any case, moving on to number 5, it was just what they listed as New 52. New 52 as being very controversial.
Hard agree.
Yeah. Although I think Chad and I have kind of mentioned that there are parts of New 52 which are okay. There were some ideas that came out of New 52, which they're all right.
I'm not sure that this is one of them, but I have my little absolute Justice League from New 52.
Yeah.
Is an Ollie special.
Well, there you go. For me, I do like Rebirth more. I think Rebirth was a better event, and I guess when a lot of the books that came out of Rebirth are actually better than New 52, but there were a couple okay books that came out of this. I'm going to challenge everybody here to come up with at least one out of New 52 that they kind of enjoyed. We're going to start off with George. George, do you have a book that came out of New 52, a series that you were like, that looks good?
Literally the only book of New 52 I've ever read was the Jeff Johns Green Lantern stuff. That is the only thing. Like, I stopped reading comics for 3 years or 5 years, however long New 52 was. I didn't, between this and Fear Itself from Marvel, which I thought was so disgustingly boring of a book, I didn't buy comics again until Rebirth happened.
Wow.
Yeah. But the Green Lantern stuff, I finally read that a few years ago. Pretty good.
Okay. John, did you read some books during the New 52 era? Anyone?
Did.
Oh, look at that. He's pulling it out. Oh, look at that.
This was the best thing to happen in New 52 as far as I was concerned. The Court of Owls was just, it was one of those times where the artist and the writer brought a brand new experience to comic books. When I read that for the first time, Batman was, underneath Gotham City for days, and he was drinking out of the fountain, and you had to turn the pages as you were reading the book, and then you had to turn the orientation of the book. And in doing that, I started to feel like I was drugged, and that's exactly what was happening to Batman in that book. So I think those guys just took the medium to a whole new level when they were on that New 52 platform. Again, Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder, home run.
Which I learned recently that was supposed to be a Dick Grayson story. Pre the plans for New 52, whenever Dick Grayson was Batman.
Yeah, Black Mirror shit, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was when Scott started writing Batman.
Right.
Yeah.
Chad, something good that came out of New 52?
Oh, yes. I had to excuse myself for a moment while I was reaching for my...
Oh, you were going to you picked my pick.
Oh, man. The Wonder Woman by Cliff Chiang and Brian Azzarello. It's a different take on Wonder Woman, but with the Cliff Chiang of it all, his art is beautiful, and it's the whole... They're taking those Greek myths, and I felt like not only was I being entertained, I was learning stuff. I was being reminded of some of those great stories, and they were on this book for 36 issues, and there were some different fill-in artists and folks along the way, but the story they craft in here is tons of fun and just beautiful stuff. And I wish Wonder Woman was allowed to wear pants like they originally intended. But that got shot down. But no, this is good stuff. Sorry for stealing your jam, Andy.
Oh, that's all right. If you want to listen to a past episode of Last Comic Shop, we do have a review of that where we all talked about. I think it's the first two trades, Blood and Guts. I think
Guts,
those are
yeah.
the first, yeah. So, you know what I'll say, because it wasn't terrible. And it was also another episode that we did, another book we reviewed on the Last Comic Shop. All-Star Western wasn't awful.
Yeah.
The fact that they were able to take a swing and put Jonah Hex in, like, I don't know, like a Western book, and sure, it had, like, they tied it to like Arkham and Gotham way back in the day, and tried to incorporate more of Jonah Hex into like the continuity of ye olden days DC. That didn't jive with me as much as just the fact that, like, if you get later on in that series, especially if you can get out of the first trade, which eventually I went back and I read the second trade and so forth, it really is good. And the fact that there was a Western book out at the time, out of one of the big two publishers, even though they were trying to weave in some superhero-ish stuff, it was still a Western book, which, again, you don't get a lot of the big two going outside of like the traditional capes and cows. So so I like it when they do Westerns or sci-fi or horror books. Like, those things are neat because it just expands what the big two are willing to do with their characters. So yeah.
Yeah. New 52 took some swings. I mean, there were some things that didn't work, obviously, but like the Flash book was real fun. What's his name? Manipul. That he had a really electric art style. The OMAC book by Keith Giffen that only made it 8 issues. That's good stuff. Like, there's good stuff out there, but there's also a lot of stuff that wasn't as bueno.
All right. Well, we'll save that for a different show. Moving on to number 4, was another time in which they took a bunch of treasured characters and then decided to do something else with them. It's Heroes Reborn. Now, this is for Chad specifically. Again, Rob Liefeld was one of the guys. He loves Rob, and I'm not gonna say but I will say that, again, like the Ultimate Universe, it happened that they took some of my favorite characters, the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and those were the guys that they fucked with. They didn't fuck with the rest of them. And so, like, I get it. They're not the ones that, but for folks like me that have been reading it for many, many years, I was like, whoa, what are they doing? Like, what are they? And I have read it, especially the Avengers. And in retrospect, it's not bad. It's just not what it's not what I wanted. It's not what I wanted.
I'll let anybody else go first before I dive in.
I'll say really quickly that, like, one of my favorite eras when I first started getting into comics was the Heroes Return. So, like, the stuff that happened after these were all like 13 issue series, right? Like,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, like, this was always like a huge mystery to me. Like, I remember, like I said, going online to the IGNs, whatever, and like seeing the forums, and everyone's just like, "Oh, this era is so dog shit. Oh, this era is so bad." But Heroes Return is so good. It's like, I made an admission. Like, I collected every issue of Iron Man Heroes Return, every issue of Thor Heroes Return, Avengers, Captain America. Like, I just genuinely loved those books. I thought they were so fun and vibrant, and like it really felt like a modernization of the Silver Age era, where like the art was classic, but like the stories felt slightly more modern and like palatable to me. I have a hard time with Silver Age and Bronze Age stuff. We talked about that before. Sorry about it. I finally went back to read Heroes Reborn because I had never read it before. Man, that Avengers book is dog shit. Like, it is so. It's just. I'm sorry. It's like so. It's very pretty. Like, all the art is at least like interesting in like a '90s, like, when else could this have existed way. So I'm not like dogging on that, but like the stories were just so pointless. Like, to me, it's just like a oh, let's take these characters who have known each other forever, but like they don't trust each other all of a sudden. I'm like, why the fuck? What does that do? Like, are you kidding? Like, it's just, so we're just reliving the first 4 issues of Avengers from the 1960s just because like teenagers today can't read the first 4 issues of it. Like, who gives a shit? And so it's just like that in every book. And like I said, I'll defend the art in all of those books, but the plot, I just like, what the fuck are we doing here, man? Like, it was like a relief pitcher who just came out to chew up 3 innings and gave up 5 runs. I'm like, what? Why did we do that? You know, why didn't you pull him sooner? Why'd you put him in at all?
John, do you have any thoughts on this? Are you going to let Chad's going to come to the rescue of these issues? I feel like
I loved. I'm a huge Jim Lee fan, so you know when they did Fantastic Four, Heroes Reborn, I was stoked. I didn't know anything. I didn't know much about the Fantastic Four, but it made me fall in love with Silver Surfer all over again. And I loved that the story just kind of left them over here, and they went to the Black Panther and Silver Surfer and just kind of got into that. But it wasn't it wasn't deep. It was just, hey, here's some really cool art, and you know, it was enough. So
all right, Chad. Yeah. You're up.
All right. So here's the deal. Now, George had brought up Heroes Return, right? Which is after Heroes Reborn.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
What George doesn't bring up is before Heroes Reborn, what the Avengers books were like.
Okay, they were pretty bad. Yeah.
It was dog shit then.
Shirtless Thor with suspenders. Iron Man was a teenager.
The Crossing! The Crossing! Come on, The Crossing! That was
real bad. Cap had been Cap Wolf. Now, the Cap book did have the first Wade Garney run, like 1 year prior. Like they had stopped doing Cap Wolf and Cap wearing the helmet and all that.
The armor,
stuff. Yeah. And like the Wade Garney run, the first one is those are legit good books. But primarily the books they were taking over, the Fantastic Four books, were not anything to write home about. And like John said, they brought a sense of excitement. And I will stand by, especially the first 6 issues of that Captain America, the Rob Liefeld Captain America. I thought there were a lot of ideas in there that, you know, they end up pulling from, you know, for the movies and, you know, the way that Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. interacts. And like, I think there's a lot of fun there. There was a lot of excitement with the art. And then is people want to dog on this, but like halfway through, Marvel goes bankrupt and they pull the plug. And so the last 7 issues of all of these series are done by Jim Lee, takes over all 4 books and basically does them on the cheap, because Marvel had reduced all of what they were going to pay them to make those books. And so Rob Liefeld goes, he takes Stephen Platt, and they go do Fighting American and get sued by Marvel because the Shield is the same shape.
Yeah.
And those books, by the way, have tons of fun ideas, and they're bonkers. And if you can track them down, I highly recommend, especially the Jim Starlin Fighting American books. Like, those are all, there's a lot of really fun ideas that came out of this. And prior to these books, like, there hadn't been good ideas in the Fantastic Four for years leading up to this. And, you know, they brought back that sense of, oh, there's some excitement there. There's something to be, some worth to be had. Now, are they 90s books? Absolutely. 90s storytelling. For all the stuff about that I love, I recognize there are things that aren't great. And I recognize, too, that people were upset that they were taking these Marvel books and farming them out to other studios, you know, whether it was the Rob Liefeld or the Jim Lee of it all. But at the same time, it's because those books weren't doing so great. Like, Andy, you grew up an Avengers guy. As a kid, the Avengers were always, like, so devalued. Because it was just a bunch of guys in the same leather bomber jacket running around.
It's true.
Like, what are you doing?
And
this added some worth to the characters, I felt.
Yeah. Plus the fact that I think it's something that we should take a look at because, as we might point out later on in the Merry Marvel March Society, in future episodes, the whole idea of Marvel tanking and then bringing in other people to do their books, I don't know, might be happening right now. We'll see. Everything is cyclical. Let's move on to number 3. This was something about Batgirl. This was or Batwoman. It was Batwoman. It's I have no idea why this is on the list. There's something about it was a marriage or something.
She was supposed to marry her. She was engaged to her girlfriend Maggie Sawyer, and they intended to have her get married. And then DC editorial, like they quit the book because DC editorial stepped in and said, no, you cannot let them get married. So DC looked like they were anti-LGBTQ. And then they came out, they were like, no, we're not against gay people. We're against marriage in comics is like what we're against. It's just like, okay, like I kind of get that. But like, you understand how this fucking looks right now, right?
Right.
It's bad.
Right. But like, so that okay. Well, thank you for the context. Cause again, I've been meaning to buy. They now have Batwoman out in that sweet DC compact collection, right? You can get a nice compact. So I was going to buy it because I haven't really read a lot of Batwoman, and it's kind of like a gaping hole.
I don't think that's like this was New 52 era, and I think that is, I'm assuming, the Greg Rucka, J.H. Williams III, which is fucking excellent. Elegy, like that opening book is so good.
From Detective Comics. That
felt like I was doing drugs
Williams
when it came
is an
out.
artist. Yeah. Oh, yeah. His panel layouts, everything is just
exceptional.
Man.
Exceptional.
And I do understand the whole theory because I consider it a theory because I think that if you marry somebody in a comic book, it automatically ages them up. They become unrelatable to your audience. It limits what you can do with them. The next step is kids. The next step is death because like but to me, part of what I love about comics and what we've talked about on occasion, me and Chad, is the whole notion of legacy characters and how legacy characters never really get a chance to breathe because we don't allow people, the original characters, to go through certain life events and to honestly age up and out and be able to tell those stories about how they grow. And so, like, to me, I think it was always a cop-out. There are plenty of really, as we'll get to in just a second, there are really a lot of great stories where Peter Parker and Mary Jane are happily married and have a kid and are going on adventures with their kid that I love, absolutely love. The Renew Your Vows series, absolutely fantastic. And that's just one example of what you can do. The Fantastic Four have been doing it for years. They immediately got Rhea and Sue married. Like within the first 2 years that they were together, like they got them married. They eventually had a kid within like a year of that. And that was Stan Lee and Jack Kirby who were coming up with these ideas. I think Stan Lee and Jack Kirby knew what they were doing. I don't want to say they didn't know what they were doing. Go on, Chad.
But then Franklin's stuck in perpetual 6-year-olddom for 50 years.
That's true. That's but that's because they couldn't age him up, because the more you age him up, the more the parents are older. I get that. But at the same time, like I think it's a cop out. I think
they fixed that in Superman when they sent John L. off and then he aged like 10 years, like overnight, basically.
Yeah. That's frustrating too.
That's another good series with like
that pisses me off.
Mom and dad, and then like kid. Like again, the Josh Williams Superman, where he's super dad. That's really good.
They ruined the Super Sons with that. Like the Super Sons were such a good thing.
I just don't. I think when the cop out of like, oh, we can't marry for people or we can't give them kids. I think it's a cop out. I think it's you're just not wanting to just
I agree, especially since like according to stats, it's like the average age of a comic book fan is like in their 40s anyway. So it's like, why the fuck are you chasing these kids who aren't buying your books anyway? Like, who gives a shit? Like, might as well do like a story that's like worth telling.
Any thoughts, John, before we move on to number 2?
Let's go to 2.
All right, let's go to number 2. Moving on to number 2, this was Ultimatum. I again,
Man,
what happened?
People were so fucking mad at this book, man.
But no, so here's the thing, and this is the anti-argument that Andy just had. Why don't you age people up? When I was a kid, Hal Jordan had wisps of gray in his in his hair, and they eventually took all that away.
That was Parallax, Chad.
Sure, whatever. But so you get this Ultimate Universe, and the whole thing with the Ultimate Universe was this is, Marvel done a different way. It's going to be more serious. It's going to be, more real time. It's going to not have the same continuity as regular Marvel, but within 5 years, 10 years, it has just as many continuity problems as the classic Marvel universe. And so what do? You bring Magneto in for a flood and have Blob eat the Wasp. And that'll make it better.
It is true. It's what I worry about, honestly, with the Absolute Universe. Like, part of me feels like anytime you do this, like, you're going to hit critical mass with the ideas. And and one of two things is going to happen. Either, like, it'll become so ingrained and so important, this other universe, that it'll actually potentially even supersede what's going on in regular continuity. And as a result of that, they'll just be like, well, now this is the continuity. We'll figure out some way of just pulling all of this in and make this the mainstream now, because this is what's popular and this is what people like. And or else you'll kind of have this, what happens, which is just it'll be a quagmire of like other ideas that are separate. And you're like, we're not fixing anything anymore. We're just making more problems. Go on.
My theory is actually the opposite. Was that like the reason the Ultimate Universe had to do this was because the mainstream universe, like the 616, became Ultimate-fied because the Ultimate Universe was so successful. It's like Civil War doesn't feel like it should be a 616 story. That feels like it should be an Ultimate Universe story, right? With like Nick Fury like running shit behind the scenes or whatever. But like Marvel jumped the shark in the 616 and just like went darker and like really leaned into like Patriot Act, post 9/11, post modernization shit, and then like they had like nowhere to go for the Ultimate Universe. They're like, what if we like really blew the fucking doors off? And I think they went. I think the story is like so poorly told, but the results were awesome. Like what we got out of this was great. Like they blew everything up and then used the debris to put together like a beautiful new era of Ultimate Comics. Like this is where we got Miles Morales from this, right? Like, or I guess like eventually we got Miles Morales from this because they brought back the Peter Parker Spider-Man. He didn't die in this story. He died like 20 issues later. And then after that, like that's when it became like Ultimate Comics blank, Ultimate Comics Ultimates, Ultimate Comics X-Men. And that was like when we got like the John Hickman era after like this follow-up miniseries with like Ultimates, not Secret or Nightmare, but like the one with like Sabretooth on the cover, but it was like Wolverine. It was like weird shit
Ultimate
was happening.
X? Is that, I think there's Wolverine's kid with those art Adams.
Yeah, I think that's those Arthur Adams, yeah. And so like all this weird shit happened. So like this book frankly fucking sucks. This was like the beginning of like the Jeff Loeb is washed to me era. Because like I loved him so much on like Batman Superman. I loved him so much on like all the color books, obviously, and then like but I was like, oh man, I'm gonna follow this guy forever. And then I like read this book. I'm like, this shit is awful. And like I love David Finch, who like drew it. And I'm like, yeah, not as I guess it is some of his best work, because like that page where Blob was eating Wasp was like truly horrible. But like the story itself was just poorly executed, but led to good things. So it was like ripping off the Band-Aid, but for the best.
All right, John.
I love this story just because I kept turning the page and going, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Hell yeah.
The whole time.
All right. Well, let's move on to number 1. I've teased it enough. Here it is, kids. Spider-Man. One More Day. That's right. Now, there are some folks out there that think it was a big mistake that Spider-Man and Mary Jane got married, that Spider-Man should have remained a bachelor. He should have been mixing it up with a wide variety of hot young things. Felicia Hardy had, Mary Jane on the side, whatever. That getting married was like the beginning of the end. But for me, as a Spider-Man fan, when I was growing up, Spider-Man was married. He was married to Mary Jane, and they had a relationship, and I was just used to it. I was young, and they were like, I don't know. That's what people seem to do when they got older. They got married, and they had this relationship, and sometimes it worked out, sometimes it didn't. But long story short, it happened. It happened. And instead of just I don't know, doing normal things. I don't know, just getting divorced, because that happens in real life. Instead, they come up with this weird convoluted thing, which I think goes against the heart of who Spider-Man is that he would sell his soul to the devil for any reason whatsoever. That. We just read an issue this week where Spider-Man fights death and refuses to give up on this girl that he barely knows, but in this one he's just gonna you know what, my marriage is, who gives a crap about it. And the worst part about it is fans like me and other fans that were used to this, and the 40-year-olds that grew up with this marriage, have been stuck in a perpetual state of just nagging the shit out of Marvel about, when are you going to fix this? Because we didn't like it, and we want you to fix this. And everybody's just like, no, we're just going to double down on the same bad decision, and we're just going to keep on telling you oh, well, you never know what's going to happen next. And so I feel because of that conflict, Spider-Man has not been able to grow. Spider-Man has not been able to have, I think that was a point of stagnation for Spider-Man as a character. Sure, there were blips and blurbs of neat stuff going on, but I think overall, we could never move past this because it was such an open wound that kept on getting shoved back in our face. That's me. I've said my piece. Everybody else.
I don't believe you said everything. Get it off your chest, Andy. Come on.
What do you really think?
That's what I think. It bothered me. It bothers me to this day. This is what started this whole idea for the show in the first place, because George mentioned that, hey, Mephisto might be they might be doing something for Spider-Man 1000 when they finally just say.
There's rumors, and there's a great series of interviews with Joe Kelly over at AIPTcomics.com. I didn't do it. I didn't conduct the interview. So David Brooke did. He's good. He's really good at his job, so you should go read that. But just talking about how something amazing, or that's a bad word choice, something incredible is happening for issue 1000, and just that timed up with the fact that that Silver Surfer is at issue 3 with Mephisto, his first appearance. That's getting a reprint at around the same time. It's oh, that's interesting. Why is that particular issue getting a reprint? And so that's what the nerds are really latching onto. I frankly don't give a shit. I'm with you. I think it's embarrassing that he's 30 or whatever old he is, and it's he has a credit score of a fucking homeless ghost. That's embarrassing to me. That's the part that really bums me out. And I thought that was the cool thing about Miles Morales and Cindy Moon and all these new characters, that they could take on the burden of being the young, inexperienced, don't know what you're doing, and that would allow Peter the opportunity to, I don't know, get a car loan or whatever the fuck you end up doing. Probably not in New York, don't need a car loan, but try to buy a condo, just have some semblance of your life getting together. And it's a bummer. I don't care. I appreciate Joe Quesada drawing the story himself, because he knew that it was going to be a big shitstorm. I thought that was brave of him. Also, he knows his art is really good, so that's fine.
I just think for those folks that are older like me, that like we're thirsty for a Peter Parker, to your point, that's competent and has actually settled down. How awesome. Like, those are my favorite parts of any of the recent Spider-Man movies, whether it was when you finally got to see Tobey Maguire in the most recent, Spider-Man No Way Home. And he's there, and he's actually like the elder statesman of the Spider-Man. He's actually like, you know what? I'm doing better. Like, I actually did get my shit together. He doesn't tell you much of what happens, but you can tell that the guy's in a better place than he ever has been. The same thing happened with the second of the Miles Morales animated movies. When he's gotten back together with Mary Jane, he has the kid, he's now the dad. He seems like he's in a better place mentally. And honestly, for somebody that like is an optimistic character for me, I want to believe. I want to, I hate to say it. I always have been. You want to look up to your heroes. You want your heroes to be optimistic. You want your heroes to succeed, because that gives you hope that you will succeed in life and be able to keep it together. So, yeah, I'm tired of bad luck Parker. Like, give the bad luck to somebody else. Let him just actually be a decent guy. You can still write good stories with him being a decent guy like that. Whatever.
1000%.
Chad. John. Chad. Chad.
Okay. So I'll just, my opening salvo is because George is our resident trivia master. And George, do you know what the longest continuous story in our culture is, according to, I think it was a Jeopardy question or somewhere on the internet?
Besides The Simpsons, I can't say I know.
That's the Marvel Universe.
Oh.
The Marvel Universe itself is credited as one of the longest running continuous stories. And there's a really great book out there called All the Marvels by a guy named Douglas Wolk, who treats it all.
It's really good.
One big series. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. That book is tons of fun. And it's all about how Night Nurse is the main catalyst.
The glue. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, highly recommend. But so the problem isn't that, at least for me with One More Day, that they went and they changed part of this long running story. The fact is, because they've done this stuff before, like, and Andy and I, we did a show about Parallel Lives. Have you guys ever read Parallel Lives by Jerry Conway and Alex Saviuk? And
yeah, it sounds really familiar.
It was a graphic novel, came out in the 80s, and it basically revealed that Mary Jane knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man the entire time.
And it makes everything make more sense. It's like one of my Bibles. It's like that series. Then you read back, you go back in the original Amazing Spider-Man, you're like, oh shit, that's why she's covering for him. Oh, Peter's like got the cold or something. It's because she knew the whole time that he was Spider-Man. He was.
Yeah. Yep, and it slots right in. Just it's beautiful. It makes everything work. It makes everything click. And it was such a simple premise, but it was so elegant, and it made this story sing. Right? It was value added to the Spider-Man mythos. And then you get One More Day, and they want to take this big swing, and they want to take the Spider-Man marriage away. And they do it in the clumsiest, dipshittiest way possible by taking Peter Parker, this guy who screws up from time to time, but would never go so far, in my mind, as to make a deal with the actual literal devil to retcon this marriage. And even then, the retconning didn't make sense, and some things happened and some things didn't happen, and they spent the next 10 years kind of fudging around it. And like, if this truly were a story that they wanted to slot into this longest running, epic, I could see there being ways to do it more elegantly and get the end result that they wanted. But they didn't. They just kind of rushed it through, and to the point where JMS, the writer, took his name off the last issue, I want to say, or there was some sort of, like from the get-go, like not only did Joe Quesada know this was going to be a rough row to hoe, like just the way they went about it was so clumsy. With that said, I enjoyed the hell out of Brand New Day that came out of it. giving Spider-Man a fresh start. And, there was that element of mystery. And then you're finally introducing, Carly Cooper and all these other characters. And
oh, no, not Carly Cooper.
I like Carly Cooper.
She was the worst.
The new new Hobgoblins and all that stuff.
No, she was the worst. Oh my God.
No, Parker Industries was the worst. But anyway, it's Spider-Man sleeping on Bobby Morse's couch because he's a secret agent, super billionaire, whatever. And that for another time. But the fact is, not only was it not true to Spider-Man's character, but at least the Dan Slott had good ideas that I can respect sometimes. It wasn't a good idea. It wasn't done well. It was so clunky, and I can understand all the haters of One More Day. Even when they went back for the One Moment in Time storyline.
Oh, that was just salt in the wounds. That was just I had finally, again, I think to your point, Chad, you had said oh, you should read all this Brand New Day stuff. And I was okay, you know what? They're in the gauntlet. Oh, there's good stuff. And then they're by the way, let us remind you of what all caused this and how pissed off you were. And you're here it is again. And I was just why are you doing this to me?
But eventually they give you what you want. Eventually you get the side universe where, maybe it's Spider-Girl with Mayday, and you get old man Peter Parker that's not Spider-Man anymore.
616. Come on, that's what
you get Spinneret. I don't know. What are you thinking, George?
I've been talking about this in the Discord lately with some other comic nerds. And one, I think it always gets forgotten that MJ says that she wants to do this too. I feel like Peter gets all the blame of this.
Oh, she makes the big sacrifice play. Yeah. She wants to remember or whatever.
And the more important thing was that they talked about how they had so many stories for Peter with his identity revealed from Civil War, because of Civil War issue 2, I think. And then it feels like the more important thing than breaking up the marriage was actually putting the genie back in the bottle for Peter's identity and bringing that part back. That was actually the more important thing. They just divorced him spiritually, and that was when you get a second round pick in addition to the player you're going after, in a sports trade. And so that was pretty critical, but they tried to retcon it somewhat during, I think, the Nick Spencer run, where it turns out the reason he was so hell-bent on ending this marriage was because the daughter of the daughter of Mary Jane and Peter would go on to defeat Mephisto, whatever the fuck that means. But that was something that was talked about, right? In the Spencer
chat.
I
remember that. Yeah.
That. And so I do think it's funny that they're still trying to years later, every once in a while, we got to give them something. They're starting to riot on Twitter. Let's give them some fucking breadcrumbs to make them feel better about this.
All right. Well, John, your thoughts, and I think we're almost at 2 hours, so we got to wrap this episode up. But John, your thoughts on One More Day.
I mean, I think that I'm with you. I think they probably beat him a little mercilessly in that issue. Yeah, I don't know. I'm having such a good time listening to you guys because your ability to articulate and your knowledge across the entire storyline is blowing my mind. So thank you for letting me be here in a front row seat to be able to spend this time.
All right. Well, that's a great way to wrap up tonight's episode. Thank you so much for everybody that stuck around till 12:30 Eastern time to listen to our whole live stream.
Oh man, you know what that means?
What's that?
New Wordle.
While Chad does his Wordle, I'm going to do our normal stuff. Make sure that you're getting out to www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com, rate, reviewing, and subscribing to our podcast, which comes out every single Tuesday on the clock. Brand new episode. Again, make sure that you're listening to this week's episode. That is... that was this. Okay, there we go. Oh, it was
Yesterday's Wordle was gunky, by the way. I can say it.
It
now.
is our
Now that it's over.
interview with John Davis, who has a tremendous Kickstarter coming out for his series Terror, Destruction, and Death Drones. That one it's going to be the entire collection. Is it coming out in the hardback? Is it in the hardback? Or are you still on the fence about that, John? Last time we talked,
I'm not sure it's going to make it to hardback right now. Maybe a little bit later down the line. I think I'm going to shoot for a trade that'll be more feasible to do right now.
All right. Well, definitely go out to jdavisdraws.com. You can read the first issue of Terror, Destruction, Death Drones for free. And if you like it, he'll have a list of all these cons that he'll be in here in the Pennsylvania area that you can see him at. You can maybe buy some issues ahead of time, or again, be paying attention to not only our social media, but John's social media in the upcoming weeks so that you don't miss that awesome Kickstarter. And make sure that you're also checking out Short Box Summary. It's a terrific podcast featuring our friend George, who is also a writer for AIPT. So you can also read his comic book reviews on the daily, or at least we're hoping on the daily, coming forward.
This was live, so I can say this. Next week, I'm reviewing Absolute Green Lantern 12, Bleeding Hearts #2 from Vertigo, which I quite like that first issue. And the way they do it is like DC sends their stuff out in advance because they're super great. Marvel sends their stuff a little closer to deadlines. So that's like I'm usually up late Tuesday trying to get everything done. So I have no idea what Marvel books I'm reviewing this week.
There you go. I had no idea how you could churn out multiple articles like the day of. So this makes more sense to me.
It's simple.
Now.
I work in advertising, and it's so much fun writing for enjoyment. And not a page, and just like, oh, cool. I'm not constrained to 25 characters for this headline. Let's fucking go 700 words on Batgirl issue 17. She's got blood coming out of her eyes.
Well, also make sure that you're checking out this week's episode of The Last Comic Shop for our review of Phoenix Volume 1, Orbital Resonance. We're going to be doing that. It was a book that series was done by Stephanie Phillips and some artists. But you know what, John? We never got to talk about the Zipatone. How you were going to get into the Zipatone. Well, how do you do Zipatone as we wrap up this week's show?
Okay, so greatly inspired by Bill Sienkiewicz. Again, a lot of his work had Zipatone. So let's get a shot of that. So Zipatone is that dot pattern that you see big and popular in anime, all over comics. The traditional way to do it is it's somewhat adhesive, and you lay it down on your artboard, and then you cut away the pieces that you don't need, and you kind of take the other side of the X-Acto knife and stamp it down so that it sticks to the paper, and then you have your pattern. Pretty.
How many tones do you get in a Zipatone package? Do you get multiples, or is it all just one sheet of dots?
It depends on the type that you get, and there are different dot patterns. So some have larger dots, some of the spacings are different, some of them have like a gradation to them. So there's a lot to choose from.
Very cool. Well, I'm hoping to hang out with you at some point, John, in the future, so I can just see you do some Zipatone. I think this is kind of neat. I didn't know it was a different thing. I just thought people just put dots like with a pen, but it's kind of cool to hear that you have to use an X-Acto knife and all this other jazz. That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, until next week or this Tuesday when you got a brand new episode of The Last Comic Shop. Stay up late. Talk with your friends about comic books.
Yeah, spoilers. Today's Wordle ends with E, but I don't know what else. I'm still working.
Holy shit.
Take it easy, everyone.